Oh, it's great to have you here. I've been really looking forward to meeting with you and talking with you. I was introduced to you by my buddy Beth Byers, and she indicated that you were her mentor. And I'm like, well, if you can be a mentor to Beth Byer, then you got to be pretty far up there. So that's really exciting because I consider Beth as being a really incredible person and just very lucky to have
Yes.
met her. You live in California. Have you always been a California
Mostly, I
person?
mean, since childhood. My parents were in the Air Force, so all them both
Oh,
families are on the East Coast. Dad from New York, mom from West Virginia, sort of thing. And so
okay.
when my dad was stationed out here in the late 60s, then of course the whole family moved out here.
I remember the late 60s.
I barely do.
It was a very
That
nice time.
happened.
Peace, love, and all that. And yeah, so you're a
California
California
girl.
girl. Now, let me ask you this. You're a very spiritual person now. This is your thing. This
Mm.
is what you do. But was it like that in your military family
Well,
growing up?
no, my dad came from a Catholic family and my mother came from a
Okay.
Protestant family. And so when they married, they decided they were going to let us kids figure it out for ourselves.
Oh, that's pretty liberal for a
Yeah.
military family.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we weren't raised in the church at all, in either church. We were free to go with our neighbor friends if we wanted to.
Okay.
So I would explore that just because this is something my friends did. So, okay.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. Did you draw any conclusions there in your high school
Now, in my
years or whatever as
well,
to religion?
interestingly, when I was in junior high, my parents divorced when I was young. So my younger brother and
Okay.
I lived with my mom. And when I was in junior high, my mom found a Hindu commune out here. Yes.
Okay.
And so we moved there for my junior high years.
You moved
Yes, we
there,
moved there.
not like you
No,
visited
we
there.
visited and
You
we moved.
moved
We
there.
we lived there.
Oh,
Yes. Through the years
wow,
in my
wow.
junior high years.
Okay,
Uh,
okay. When I was 16 or so, I had met somebody on a vacation, on a family vacation that lived in the
mm,
Boston area. Of course, it was a young lady. I was 16 or 17, so I was very geared up to go and visit this girl. And at that time, people
uh,
hitchhiked. So my parents brought me down to Albany, which is then the straight shot over to Boston from there, Albany, New York, where I was living. And I was out there with a sign, Boston. And about 15 minutes later, this car pulled up, and wasn't it a Buddhist
yeah.
nun that was heading out to
Uh,
Boston? And she says, "This is not an accident that this happened. This is meant to be. I was meant to pick you up and talk to you about this." And it really changed a lot of things for me. I spent a lot of time looking at Buddhist practices, not Hindu, but Buddhist. And it's so interesting that that one hitchhiking incident had such a big
right.
impact on me. So I can only imagine what it was like to be actually living there for a period of time amongst people who, I guess that's kind of a way of life, was
Yeah,
it
there was
there?
meditation was expected. And we were
Right.
schooled there
Hmm.
and there was a built around a swami. And
Okay.
so it was interesting because I was a precocious child where my mother said I was always a little
Okay.
adult. Nothing
Nothing
wrong
wrong
with
with
that.
that. There's nothing wrong with
But
that.
that allowed me to see beyond the glossy veneer to the kind of not so kosher things underneath.
I think that's really something because many of us in our junior high years, especially, are basically whatever you're telling me, I'm
Mm.
accepting it. But that wasn't you.
No, I mean, I would for a while, but I'm going to test it. I'm going to run up against it. If it doesn't stand
Yep.
up to scrutiny, then okay. And that would happen, I think, in every religion I have experienced. If the teacher
Yeah.
isn't standing in there, well, having accountability or
Yeah.
ethics, and that happens in
Right.
every religion.
Right. Whenever there are people involved.
It's every religion and no religion. It's people, exactly. And so I think being able
Yeah.
to see that early helped me not get stuck in one particular religion, but I kind of bounced around for a bit, trying on different things, but nothing ever really, really stuck.
And you went on to high school, and I take it that you probably went to some higher
I
education
did.
as well.
Well, actually, got my teaching credential. After
Oh,
my
okay.
bachelor's, I
Great.
got my teaching credential, and
Oh,
yeah,
wow. Okay.
20 plus, 20 years with teaching in and out of the classroom, homeschooling, being a supervising teacher, overseeing students, with maths and English and all. I spent a lot of years in education in various ways.
And I know teachers, and I know that it's not always the easiest
No.
of jobs.
No.
And over 20 years, I would think that the students probably changed a little
They
bit.
definitely did. It definitely did. And also my
Mhm.
tolerance for it. You
Yeah.
get tired after a while. Or I did,
Right,
right?
right. You were 20 years on, so you're probably in your 40s or whatever. And my understanding is that you decided, let me try something else. Is that
That is
accurate?
accurate, yes. So we skipped a large part of my life there where I had been married to a fundamentalist Christian. And
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh,
you
I don't
want
want to
to
skip.
okay.
I don't
Well,
want
and
to
at the
skip anything.
time we were
No.
dating, he made a point to tell me, look, I'm not as right wing as all those others. I'm more open and understanding. And as the marriage progressed, I went more this way and he went more that way. And then we had 3 kids in a very short amount of time. I'm like 3 kids in 3 years.
Oh,
It
okay.
was like, yeah,
Oh boy.
oh boy.
Yep. That is a big juggling act. That's a lot of socks. That's a lot of
So one had
laundry. That,
a
pardon
friend
me.
asked me once, what's the difference between having 2 kids and having 3? And I said, laundry becomes a way of life. It's
It's like, yeah, hello. It's just another day. I'm
more
doing more
laundry,
laundry.
yes.
Yeah.
And so in the last 8 years of my 17-year marriage, I was severely depressed.
Oh,
Severely
geez.
depressed. I could barely function. My kids are what kept me on this earth. Yeah.
Okay.
So during that time, I'd been kind of a psychic kid
Okay.
and I shut it down because my dad would react in anger to things like that. And my mom would react in fear. When as a little kid, those are not the emotions you want aimed at you. You want us,
No.
right?
Well, let's stop there for just
Okay.
a second and tell me a little bit about that, would you? Because I've interviewed a lot of people that have had connection and then shut it
Mhm.
down because of interpersonal relationships. And it sounds like you had that same thing. What kind of psychic things did you have? You had gifts, obviously, right, from early age. When was your first time that you
Well,
realized it?
the first time I realized was around 3. Okay.
Okay.
And I just remember insisting to my dad, it's like, we have to have candles at dinner. We have to. We have to have candles. And I was just starting to get worked up about it. We have to. And he's getting mad. You're like, no, no, no. And mom's like, it's okay. We don't need them. And I said, but what if there's a blackout? I mean, I'm practically crying at this point, right? And so they got me calmed down whenever we're eating dinner. No candles at the table. And in the middle of dinner, there's a blackout. It's a blackout. It wasn't just our house. It was close to half the
It was
city or something. It was a big blackout.
okay. Okay.
Um,
And of course, your parents said, "Oh, you were so right."
well, I know.
Yeah.
I said, I told you I should have had them. Yeah. Dad got mad. Mom got,
Yeah, that went over
yeah, like a lead
well, I'm
balloon.
sure.
So that's the first one I remember.
Oh
My
my
mother
gosh.
talks about me having this invisible friend
Okay.
as a child that we lived on Air Force Base housing, just a series of personnel that rotate through there depending on where they're assigned.
Right. Right.
And so this one room that they turned into a playroom, apparently I had this invisible friend and I talked to him. And I think they found out that that had been the name of someone who used to live there, but he died while serving overseas or something. I
Okay.
don't
Okay.
remember doing that, but my mom
Okay.
tells me for sure that that happened.
Okay. So that really was a natural part of you then from very early on. You were born with it,
Well,
basically.
I think children in general are far more
Mm,
open than we give them credit for. And
absolutely.
I'm not saying that it was like, ooh, I have this amazing gift. It's just at that point in time,
Right.
it was showing up. And so, yeah, there were other things throughout my childhood that I either knew ahead of time or recognized that things were happening. But the people around me always freaked out about it. So as a child, you have to if you're not receiving that acceptance, that support, you're going to
Yes.
shut it down.
Most everyone can do that. And a lot of women that I've interviewed said they wanted to have a boyfriend. So they weren't going to be talking about
Mm.
that stuff. And it didn't come back until their later 20s for a
Mhm.
lot of people. And when was there a time when you started to feel comfortable with it coming back?
It did. Yes and no. So
Okay.
I would say, yeah, it started coming back right around age 30, but I was still
Okay.
married to the ex, still in this evangelical kind of gospel
Okay.
kind of.
Yep.
So they would accept it if it was considered prophecy, right? If it was
I
prophecy,
see.
it was okay. But then a lot of other things started happening. I mean, part of the reason I was in such a great depression near the end of my marriage there was that, number one, I was seeing a lot of things, not just psychically, but the veneer was wearing off and I was seeing the hypocrisy
Yeah.
underneath, right?
Yep.
But I'm in this very rigid kind of marital structure. The wife submits to the husband, who submits to the pastor, who submits to
Yes.
God, and there's no room
Yep.
for women, right? And
Oh.
I wanted to start going to a different church. I mean, I had 3 young kids at this time. I was home all day. I was
Yep.
losing myself. And I wanted to go to a different church during the week. And my husband complained to the pastor, our church, and the pastor called us in, and my best friend and her husband decided that for the good of my soul, I needed to be shunned by the
Oh my
friends. Yep.
goodness.
I needed to be taken to deliverance counseling. Now, what that means is, they thought I had a demon that needed to be driven out of me. And oh, yeah.
Wow.
And you think in this day and age? And I'm like, yes, in this day and age. So,
Well, let me just stop for
okay.
a second there. People all over the country and all over the world listen to this podcast. And this account that you're giving us of what happened to you, that happens all over the
It
world,
does.
right?
It really does.
That women are told to hold the line and obey, and if not, there's going to be trouble. And you ran smack
I
dab
did.
into it.
Yeah.
It's horrifying to me, but I know it's so real. And wow, no wonder you were depressed. Wow,
Yes.
a lot going on
There's a
there.
lot going on there. So that was in the late 90s. My brother died in 1999. He was 3 years younger than me. And
Okay.
he was gay. And my ex could not accept that. Basically tried to tell me that
Okay.
I couldn't have contact with him, right?
Oh,
And
wow.
I mean, this is my brother, my kid brother. We were like twins,
Yeah.
except we were 3 years apart. And
Right.
so when he died, that was such a shocking thing. That was a huge part that catapulted me into that depression. And then there was no support from my
Yeah.
ex. So he just went straight to hell, good riddance. The world is one fewer. And
My
no
gosh.
support at all.
The opposite of Christ behavior.
Exactly.
Christ-like.
Exactly. But I knew if I were to leave him, he would keep the kids and I would have nothing. I'd lose my family, my children, my church, my support group. But as the time went on, I was losing them anyway.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. And this happens all over
It got
the world. So yeah, that's brutal.
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 So then the psychic things started coming back, like I said, around this time.
Okay.
And what the big catapult, the big shaking, okay, there were several that started happening, little earthquakes in my life, I call them.
Okay. Okay.
So the first one is, I was just standing at the kitchen sink one day and I just kind of zoned out. I don't know if when people are so depressed and I'm dissociated. Basically, for a moment, I wasn't there, right? It was as if someone physically grabbed onto my shoulders and shook me. I mean, it was that I physically moved. And I heard a voice saying,
Wow.
you have to wake up now and you have to deal with this or you're going to die. And my eyes were like,
Wow.
what just happened, right?
Not too subtle.
No subtlety at all. And which is wonderful. I've probably been avoiding
Yeah.
all the subtle signs.
Wow, that is wild. Your body moved?
I felt it move. And
Wow.
so
Wow.
I walked out of the kitchen to the sliding door to the patio, and we had a little table out there. And there'd been a plant that was out there, and it had been a very rainy April. It was in April that year.
Okay.
And the plant's roots had broken through this plastic pot and were halfway across the table trying to find more. I mean, and I looked at it and I went, the pot's too small. I can't shove myself into this anymore. This container is too small for me. Right? It was this, what?
You just opened up and saw it.
Yeah.
How wonderful. I'm sorry that it took all that pain to get there,
Well,
but
I was
spirit
feeling
help your guides,
yes.
whatever.
Oh, I know what happened, and I will tell you that it's called a time loop, but we'll
Okay.
get to that because we have to go forward
Okay.
first. So
Okay.
a few weeks later, I wake up and I hear my ex is furiously pacing, praying in the living room. And so I get up, it's like 6 a.m. and I'm like, what's going on? And he says, I saw a demon in our room. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's, I had bought a wind chime from a metaphysical store and I didn't have a
Okay.
place to put it. So I just hung it in my room. I mean, it's a little wind chime. Okay. Well, he says,
Right. Yeah, benign,
it's a
pretty
benign thing. He
benign
says,
thing.
I saw this demon in our room and it was under that thing that you bought from that store. And I'm like, okay, so what did it look like? And he says, it was an old woman. And I said, well, and I started feeling this boldness just to keep talking, which was odd for me at the time. And I said, in
Yes.
some
Right.
cultures,
Right.
old women are considered wisdom. They've experienced things. They're wise teachers. And he got even more mad. And he's like, I know what I saw. And he looked at me and he gets this look and I could see him deciding something. And he says, I'm going to go gather the men to pray. And he walked the door.
Oh my.
Yes. Right. Well, I didn't feel my body collapse. But in the next
Mhm.
moment, I was in the body of another woman back in like the 1500s, watching her husband storm out the door saying, I'm going to go get the priest to pray.
Oh.
Oh, and I could look down. I could see I'm wearing this brick red skirt. I could see the cottage all around me. I could feel
And
it.
it's you, right? You're
I'm
that woman.
there. It's happening.
Yes.
I could feel her terror because
Yes.
her terror was my terror. And she
Right.
collapsed down to the floor. And I heard a spoke of like this kind of sobbing sound. And then I was back in my own body. And I'm curled in the corner of the living room going, what just
Huh?
happened?
What
What?
happened?
What? Because, and what I think happened, have you heard of like string theory where you've got two different realities, timelines happening?
Yes.
And because in
Uh,
that moment, our trauma was so similar, it like
yes.
briefly crossed. And
Yeah.
I didn't even believe in past lives. I mean,
Right.
and that happened and I knew that was me. Oh, yes.
I mean, it's one thing if you say, I'm going to go to a past life regressionist so that I can seek out past lives. But you didn't do that. You didn't even
Yeah,
believe
that
in
time.
them. And all of a sudden you had a
Yep.
spontaneous past life
Yes.
experience.
Yes.
Well, that
That was
is
a major.
a wonderful thing that happened to
It
you.
was wonderful, absolutely. And it was one of those, like when you met the Buddhist nun, that
Yes.
signpost was preordained in your lifetime.
Yes.
This
Yes.
major
Yes.
earthquake shook the foundation. And
Oh, that's an
yeah,
earthquake.
big time.
Big time.
And I knew it needed to be because when I was allowing myself to continue in, it was killing me slowly,
Yes.
emotionally, mentally,
Yes.
spiritually. And that began my quest. What the bleep
Okay.
happened
Yeah.
and why?
Yes. Thanks for keeping it clean
Yes.
here.
Yeah. No, I do that. I I enjoy it. And I love the look on people's faces when I um,
And he's off gathering the men, and you're like, "Oh, wow." And you had already
the
had
first
the
mhm,
shaking
mhm,
one, and then you had this
yes.
happen. And, what did you do?
Well, I looked on it as like a spiritual pregnancy, like that there was something
Oh,
deep in me that was growing.
that's a wonderful analogy, and it's a wonderful way to look at that. That's really wise, uh, ability to do that, to look at it like that for your own
Right.
self. It's one thing to look at it for someone else, but for your own
Yeah.
self. That's
Well, and
amazing.
yeah, I mean, I had 3 kids and I know how long it takes to show. You don't even look pregnant for almost half of it.
No.
And I knew that I
Right.
needed to keep this a secret. No
Yeah.
one could know. No one near me could know.
Yeah.
While I looked at how do I get out of this marriage? What do I do to protect myself and my children, my
Yeah.
livelihood?
Yeah.
how do I, not only what happened and why, but how do I shift out of this situation I found myself in that I just can't stay in any
Right.
longer? And I knew
Right.
eventually it would show. People around me would start noticing because you
Yeah.
can't hide. You are changed. Yes, you're supposed to.
Yeah. You're blossoming in a
Right.
way.
There's an old comic. It's a one panel comic that the butterfly and the caterpillar are having coffee, and the caterpillar says, "I've changed." And the butterfly says, "Yeah, you're supposed to." Literally
That's funny. That's funny. And that's you. That was you getting ready to
getting ready to
change.
change. So that was my time of unmaking and
Okay.
remaking. That came later, but that
Wow. Wow.
started. Yeah.
Wow. I thank you so much for sharing that with us, because it's like it's an amazing occurrence that, you can't make this stuff up, right?
Absolutely
I
not.
mean, a little bit earlier, you had mentioned that when you were shaken, that was a time loop. Could you explain a little bit more about
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
please?
So we like to think that time is linear, that it just flows in one direction
Right.
only, but that's only true for this physical level of reality. So when you
Okay.
start experiencing the energetic level of reality, time is all at once, right? There's no cycles and
Okay.
seasons. So when I went for, if you skip a couple of years here in my life, I'm out of that marriage.
Right.
I am in a new, happy, healthy, solid relationship. I am,
Oh,
yeah,
wonderful.
that's continuing to this day. Yay.
Hey.
And I was meditating one morning, just in that zone. And all of a sudden I felt kind of down to my right side, like a tunnel, like a little wormhole through time opening up. And
Huh.
I felt this just wave of what I call lion energy, just this
Okay.
boldness. And I'm speaking into, I know somebody on the other side of this little wormhole here needs to hear this. And I said, "You have to wake up now. You have to deal with this or you're going to die." And then the wormhole closed and I went, that was me. That voice that I heard that day at the thing,
Oh,
that was my
wow.
future self speaking to me.
Oh my goodness. Now, let me ask this, because you're
Yeah.
meditating, you're not thinking about
No,
you in
no,
earlier years. This message that came out, did it kind of come to
it
you,
flowed through me.
in people say a
Yes.
download or something? Did it come to you and then you
I
said it?
just knew that I needed to say something. Someone on the other end of this needed this bold energy. And I just opened
Okay.
my mouth and that's what came out. And it
Oh
wasn't
my
until it
goodness. Oh
closed
my
and then I
goodness.
went, well, that was weird. And it was, oh,
Oh,
oh, yes.
well, I think that is so fascinating and so wonderful that you were able to help
Right, yeah,
yourself earlier in this
yeah.
same lifetime.
I've had several time loops like that in this life. Yeah. I
Okay.
don't, and I've had several to past lives where my past self saw this being of light, this angel, this goddess, but it was really me coming back to help them.
Oh,
Because in my
wow.
energy
Wow.
body, it's, this being of light. Yeah.
Yes.
So it makes me kind of
Yes.
wonder,
And
when we see angels or light beings, are we really seeing our future selves coming to help us?
oh, that is a can of worms, as they say. And I love that. I'm just starting to work with some quantum people talking about just being able to shift backwards,
Mhm.
forwards, kind of in what we perceive as time, and to affect in a positive way, hopefully, our other lifetimes and maybe even existences that in other realms or whatever. And so it is the fact that you would come today and talk about this, that just came
Yeah,
out of you to help. You didn't even
I
know
did
it was
not.
yourself. You just knew something in this universe needs my
Someone on the
energy
other end
right now.
needs to hear this right now. Yeah, yeah. Wormholes through space and time. And yeah, you can do that for your younger self in this lifetime too.
Wow. And you just
I
let it
did.
rip.
This,
Well, let's just finish up this
all right.
episode on that note. That's a wonderful, wonderful thing for you to share with us. And then let's come back and talk a little bit more if
It
that's all
sounds
right with you.
great, Jim.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.